I was on the way to the coffee shop, of course, because
To
I
get
go
some
there
sugar.
every morning.
Right.
It's part of my day. And my friend Lynn was with me, and there was a sign in the yard. And as soon as it was 9 o'clock, I called the realtor, and he gave me the code, and we walked in, and I shut the door, and it's quiet in here. That it just felt like home. And as a little girl, I grew up on Main Street, and I think I've always wanted to get back to Main Street. It feels like we've gone back in time. You know, like people used to sit on the porch, and as people walk by, talk to your neighbors and say hello and have that community.
And it's nice to have a house on Main Street. That's kind of what's special. There are a lot of, towns in the mountains, and so what's special about Blowing Rock? Blowing Rock is a nice, mountain town. It's a community, and having a house right here on Main Street, a residence, it kind of helps communicate that message that Blowing Rock is a community.
The guy that was in here painting said a lady walked in and said this was her family's house, and could would it be okay if I gave her your information, and he did, and he said as she walked around the house that she got a little bit choked up. When we met them, you could just tell they were just a loving family, and they just shared lots of great memories that were in this house, and about Blowing Rock. They were such a big part of Blowing Rock and the town, and so that was really interesting.
Yes, so my grandparents lived here in the summer, and they lived in Daytona Beach in the colder months. And so we would come up in the summer and visit them.
I guess strangely, I remember the winters mostly, and all those 4-foot snows we used to have, and sledding on the on Sunset. Build a big bonfire up there in a barrel, and
But we would stay upstairs in what my grandmother called the penthouse. And there were several beds up there, and we thought it was such a treat to look out over Main Street out that window in the morning as the town was waking up and coming to life, and going out to the hill here on the side and then in the back, and rolling down it as kids.
We
who
rolled
got to
down
the
that
bottom
so
of the
many
hill
times.
first
So
is another fun memory. And
It was just a fun time, and while we were doing that, Pappy would make his famous popcorn, on the stove, and it was just a heaven to come here,
it's just such a change, a welcome change. Mother and Dad built it, to live in, and they didn't make any changes much to their adult lives until they retired. It was basically the same house. And of course it was built in the 20s for 20s living. And now this is more like 2020 living. So I really enjoy seeing the changes that have been made.
Yeah, it seems like everything's changing so fast nowadays. People move a lot, and it's nice to have some continuity. I think that's part of what draws people up here to Apsky Mountain or Tweetsie. They can take their kids and their grandkids to the same place they went. They can come back, a year, 5 years, 10 years, and see things they know and remember. And this house is as some people know. There's so many people coming. There was a broken window upstairs for years and years because there was nobody in it. And everybody noticed that, and we get told over and over again, thank goodness you fixed that broken window, or
Right.
thank goodness you fixed up that house that's been sitting kind of derelict for so long, because people, they like to have those things that don't change.
Sense of place.
Yes, sense of place. And for people who might live in Charlotte or Raleigh, for some of them, Blowing Rock's that sense of place, because they've moved around so much that they don't have it where they are. But they come up here, periodically, and they see things they know that they saw with their parents, that they saw with their grandparents, including this little house on the corner by the post office. it's a nice kind of anchor for folks.
Yeah, one of the big things right now is the apple tree is just bursting in the backyard with apples. And there's, before, when we bought it, a guy that works next door, Jeff, said, oh, there'll be some ladies that come and pick the apples. And since we bought the house, I've run into some of those ladies around town or at the post office, and they've asked, you know, I understand you own the house now, can we pick the apples? And several of them have shared different applesauce or apple butter recipes. And it's neat that even though no one was in the house, there were people still loving the property and enjoying the apples in the backyard. So we're going to preserve that apple tree as long as we can.